similar to how on the question of Ukraine, that has divided your conference. I heard you say earlier something about being supportive of Ukraine because they were unfairly attacked. Would you support at this point that vote to send aid to Ukraine in that fight against Russia?
No, I've had the same question since the very first vote, when I think I'm one of 10 people that never voted for anything to give to Ukraine. And it's because not something that Ukraine can't do. Look, Volodymyr Zelensky was inspiring when he said, I don't need a ride out, I need ammunition. I mean, he's rallied his country and the world to his cause. But the U.S. State Department is conflicted. I mean, they've got Victoria Nuland saying that the mission is regime change in Russia with war crimes tribunals for Vladimir Putin. That's World War III. And look, when they say something vacuous, like as much as it takes, as long as it takes, that passes for a lot of people, but it doesn't answer in order to do what? And if that's to extract all the Russians from Ukraine, Ukraine doesn't have the combat power to do that. No matter how much money we send them, they need allies to come in on the ground, in the sea, and in the air to be able to extract Russia from Ukraine. That's a bigger war. And so we have to have a limiting factor that the administration is not willing to concede.
So are you suggesting that the conflict in Ukraine is a lost cause, and that is why you oppose sending more money for ammunition and the like to Ukraine?
No, I wouldn't call it a lost cause. I think Vladimir Zelensky wasn't given a chance. I mean, they told a lot of the intelligence said that they would have their whole country collapse within days. I mean, people were offering him a ride out, and he turned and fought. I mean, look, they've been heroic and inspirational, but I think they've been deceived. And look, I understand if my country was under attack, my mission would be to extract everyone that shouldn't be here out of my country. In a lot of ways, my country is being invaded today, more passively, more peacefully, but it's still being invaded. And we want to secure our border.
Congressman, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to understand your position, because I'm hearing you suggest that Ukraine's fight is valid, that they should push back against Russia, but you're also at the same time unwilling to provide them with what they need to be able to do that. You know, right now, the warning that is out there from members of this administration, from people in the military, is that if this doesn't come right now, the momentum will be lost. Are you concerned that this is that kind of pivotal moment, and you and your colleagues are not willing to do what is necessary to allow Ukraine to maintain an upper hand?
Look, you can be sympathetic to Ukraine without saying that it's our war to fight or our war to fund. Ukraine's not a member of NATO, and that is a big part of what this conflict is.
So you want them to be on their own at this point?
I think they should be independent, and I think what we've done for them is give them a path to negotiate a peace, but the administration has worked at odds with that. I mean, frankly, Gerhard Schroeder in Germany has pointed out that the Biden administration scuttled the efforts to try to negotiate a peace. They could have saved the hundreds of thousands of casualties on both sides. Frankly, this war was entirely avoidable, but the Biden administration, frankly, failed in every way possible, and so did Putin.
At this moment, the force standing in the way of helping Ukraine is you and your colleagues. It sounds like you're just not interested in doing that, and you're fine with Russia steamrolling over Ukraine. Is that correct?
No, that's a dishonest characterization. I understand why you're making it, and that's fine. I've had this position the entire 2 years that the war has gone on, and I'm not going to change it. The administration still won't define the mission. And just because Ukraine wants a mission doesn't mean that that's in America's national interest. The reality is the only way to extract the Russian troops out of Ukraine is to expand the war. And I do not think that that's in the United States' best interest. It is in the interest of Russia to have a long war. And frankly, you know who's benefiting from this is China. China would love for us to be bogged down for another 20 years in an ill-defined war. The administration who got us into Afghanistan in 2004 said as much as it takes, as long as it takes. And we didn't get out of there until Biden's botched failure on August 31st of 2021. And on September 1st of 2021, the Biden administration entered into a strategic partnership agreement to support Ukraine's admission, not just to NATO, but into the European Union. So everything from then was an escalation that frankly was designed to result in conflict, and they continue to escalate today and to do everything possible to scuttle any effort towards peace.
All right, Congressman.
This is an escalation of the war, not a path to peaceful resolution.
Congressman Warren Davidson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And just in, some arrests tonight after a pro-Palestinian crowd shut down some of America's biggest land